Hey guys, it's Barbara with Sprout Marketing, your resource for all things leasing, marketing, and retention for multifamily housing. I'm excited for us to talk today because we're digging into one of my favorite topics, which is leasing. Now, this is not a leasing basics. In fact, this is just a level up. We're talking about how to sell your advantage, and it's a critical skill to have. Why do I say it's not a basic? Well, I just was putting myself back in my shoes when I was a brand new leasing agent or when I had moved to a brand new community. And I remember the manager would hand me a sheet with all the information about the community. And initially, as I was walking and familiarizing myself, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I have so much to remember. How am I going to remember? There's 12 floor plans, there's so many features, there's so many amenities, let alone like the neighborhood. So at the very beginning, the basic thing that I wanted was just to memorize all the information. And guess what? Just by memorizing the information, I could do an effective tour. But quickly, I needed to advance and really level up that skill to now not just recite a bunch of facts, because people will tune out to that, but to really take it to the next thing. What do those facts mean? That's what selling your advantage is. I want you to think about when you're just reciting facts, it's almost like that floor plan that you get a photocopy of and it's one-dimensional. It's kind of flat. You get an idea of what it is, but it's hard to necessarily visualize yourself. Well, as you sell your advantage, when you turn features and facts into benefits and problem solving, you're essentially taking that flat floor plan and you're turning it into a 3D model. And I thought this was a great example. A little friend of mine made this to kind of represent a model of my house. And I thought it was so cool because by adding all those individual little pieces, it really brought a flat idea to life. And that's exactly what we can do in our leasing presentation. So like I said, the basics is just the facts. You might be there, and those are critically important. Now, we found all of this so essential that we included this in the Leasing Blueprint series. The Leasing Blueprint, the handbook, anyone can access it. It's at watchyourbusinesssprout.com/shop. It's one of my favorite tools that we provide and that you can purchase for you and your team because it's really a guidebook on all things leasing. So from the basics to things like a little bit more advanced, like selling your advantage. So even the way that we order it, I want to show you guys because this really is how you'll build your skills. So in the section, Time to Study Up, there's a section where it talks about your community. These are all the facts that you're going to write about your community. You know, the different floor plans. You're going to get into the type of flooring, when was it built, all the pertinent things that you might use to build your leasing presentation. We followed that up with a section where you could fill out your comps. That's really important to know so that when you are selling your advantage, you clearly have in mind that with your competitors. And I've talked a lot about that before. We don't dog our competitors, but we're knowledgeable so that we know where we stand out. Now, the section after that is the one we're talking about today, selling your advantage. So when you think about selling your advantage as you're leveling up and layering those skills, what you want to think about is those facts and those features, and you want to now start asking yourself, what problem does this feature, what does this solve for someone? And I like to first, again, think in layers. So I first think about things very generic. For example, a pool, well, it provides, what problem does it solve? That people might be bored in the summer and they want something fun to do, so there's the solution. When you take that and you level it up one more as you're developing your conversational skills and your leasing and sales skills, you're going to ask, what problem does that solve for this specific individual I'm talking to? And I like to think in terms of layers because I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Some of you, this might come intuitively and you're like, boom, I'm already doing this. I'm already talking to people like that. For others, we're building. We get facts, then we get comfortable with what does the basic thing solve? And then we get comfortable with personalizing. So if you want to skip from 0 to 100 and you just feel good with that, amazing. But don't feel bad if you need to kind of take those steps as you go. So let's think about that in terms of what problems does something solve specifically for this person. So I was thinking about it earlier today. You know, a lot of us will talk about what is going on in the neighborhood. So we might say there's a Whole Foods within walking distance. And that's a fact, right? And in a way, it's a feature of our community because it is factual that it's nearby. Now, what problem does it solve? Well, it solves a lot of problems that you can be running late from work and you can immediately get groceries really quick. You might be able to even get groceries delivered to your door. There's a lot of things that it solves. But think about, what does that mean for someone that maybe is a full-time working mom? Well, if you take it to the next level and you really want to sell your advantage, and you're talking to this mom of four, and you know that she works full time, through your conversation, you might say something like, yes, and you know, one of my favorite things is that Whole Foods is literally within walking distance. And on Thursday night, they do half off of their pizzas, which I know sometimes you just want to know when you're had a busy day that you can pick up a pizza for the family and enjoy it. And they're so good. And then share which one is your favorite. You really personalized and you customized a problem, a potential problem that it could solve for that specific prospect that walked in your door. Now, I love that because, again, think about that 3D model. You're putting yourselves in their shoes. You're thinking about a potential pain point that they have, trying to juggle it all. And you're talking about how a feature that you have at your community really is to their advantage. And that's how you sell to your advantage. Now, think about another example. Let's talk about something specifically inside of your community. Maybe you have a great floor plan. All of them are open kitchens with a lot of storage space. Now, that's going to mean a little something different to someone that loves to cook, and maybe a college student that this is their first apartment, and maybe they don't cook any of their meals at home, right? So how could you tailor your presentation to really sell your advantage? Again, we don't want to do generalities. I'm speaking that because I don't have the prospect in front of me. But as I'm walking with someone and we're talking, and I know we're about to get to, our model unit, and I'm thinking through like, okay, here are some of the advantages that this unit just has as a standalone unit. Now let me see if this matters to them. So I might say something like, so are you a person that loves to cook? Are you like a big entertainer? And just hear what they say. Now, someone that does love to cook is probably going to start saying, oh my goodness, absolutely, like love to cook. Think about our experience with Whole Foods earlier, our example. So for them, that might be something that you weave in and say, and you know what? This is an incredible place to, this kitchen. I'm bouncing between two, so bear with me. You might say, for example, this kitchen is awesome. It has so much storage. I know, like for me, all the little appliances start to take up space, but you're not going to have to worry about that. You've got a great amount of space. You have a great pantry. And if you just happen to forget an ingredient, which happens to me all the time, Whole Foods is literally down the road. You see how you sold two things and you really sold the advantage of those two individual features, so to speak. Now, if they tell you, nah, I'm not really into cooking, but I do like to have friends over, that's where I might not spend a ton of time talking about the storage of the kitchen. That doesn't matter to them. So even though it's an advantage for your community, it doesn't solve a problem for them. So when we walk in the unit and you're showing them this great open floor plan, you might say something like, what do you think? Do you think this is enough room for your friends? And you're really helping them to visualize that 3D model. Now they're putting themselves in it. And you think about that, and all of these type of little things that you're starting to think, if they don't like to cook, well, they've got to eat, right? So let's talk about all the restaurants that deliver within the area. So you guys, this is a skill that you're going to really hone. The longer that you're in the industry, you'll be able to think on your feet. But I will say, what I love about the worksheet is it brings it to light. How do you get better at a skill? You put a focus on it. So you can start by listing out features that your community has, and think in terms of features inside the unit and then features like your amenities. And don't forget a feature or a benefit that comes with the staff. For example, if you offer a fantastic maintenance type of an experience, or you have a concierge service, or you just have a staff that has worked together for a really long time, there's a lot of advantages that come to that. So keep those things in mind. So I'd list those out. Those are your features or your facts. And then I would think, what problem do they solve? And you can start generic. When I find that when I start at least with a generic thing that it solves, then I'm able to adjust depending on who walks through the door, because I know at the very basic, this is a problem that this specific feature solves. So as I'm walking and I'm talking and I'm getting to know someone, I might jot down loves to cook, loves to entertain, loves to hike, works from home. So let's say I've got great Wi-Fi. Hey, that's going to mean something to somebody that's working from home. That's also important to a student, right? But how it's important is going to be different. So you list those out, you talk about you write down then the pain point that they solve, and then you get comfortable bringing them up. And don't think that you have to sell everything as an advantage. That would be the longest presentation ever. If you're like, oh, and we have great lawn care, let me tell you about the advantage of not looking at overgrown grass. You get the point, that's too much. So just pick a handful, 3 to 5 things that matter to them, bring it to life, help again with your words, with the way that you sell the advantage, help make that a 3D image in their mind. And the best part is forget just the 3D image, you want them picturing themselves in that 3D image. So slowly but surely, you'll get comfortable just adjusting and selling your advantage. If you guys have enjoyed this, I'd love to know. Tag me on social media at Sprout Marketing. I'm on Instagram. And if you'd like to continue to hone your skills or to help your leasing professional hone your skills, I really recommend the Leasing Blueprint. This is a favorite for literally thousands of managers. I have a lot of VPs that buy this for their entire team. It's the BFF that I wish I had when I was leasing, and it's just nice to know that whatever issues or challenges you have, they're here. They're solutions that you can solve them with. So whatever you do, put this into practice, because it's great to talk about it in theory, but the more that you use it, the more confident that you'll be. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode all about leasing and selling your advantage. I'll see you guys soon, okay?